Good morning, everyone. So, having concluded a week of working with the small queens, I'm now ready to give you a quick presentation of the half-cent value and soon to follow the 1 cent. So, I'm going to show you what I've studied and some examples of each. At the moment, I've identified a few late Montreal printings, but mostly second Ottawa printings. I've found no fewer than 7 different papers in use during the second Ottawa period, and 3 shades. Unitrade states that the half-cent value has a position dot at the top center of the medallion. Now, in practice, this is an extremely small dot. It's not the same thickness or size as the position dots on the other values. So when you go looking for it, you will often miss it because it's extremely small. It's really a pinpoint, if that. Most all stamps have it in that position. So it's not particularly helpful in terms of separating the printings. Now, the other thing I've noticed in studying this stamp is another characteristic that seems to be common to most all the stamps I examined is that there are 2 dots inside the H of half in the sort of legs of the H. I don't know if those are in every single position of every single plate, but every stamp I examined so far has them. Now, the one thing that I'm lacking in this week in studying this value is I don't have a lot of examples of late Montreal printings. I had plenty of second Ottawas, and I think I can illustrate pretty clearly all of the second Ottawa printings, but I may be missing 1 or 2 of the late Montreals. Now, one of the difficulties of this stamp, and I've now actually for several years misidentified the Montreal versus Ottawa distinction on this, because in the past I looked for the clarity of the impression and the quality of the paper. The problem is, and as I've pointed out in my overall overview video of this issue, paper quality or apparent paper quality alone is not adequate to make the distinction between Montreal and Ottawa, due to the fact that at the very late second Ottawa period in 1895 and 1893, I believe, they began using a better quality white wove paper. Actually, a couple of varieties of it that I've identified as 20-F and 20-I papers that appear to be of very high quality. They are slightly porous. They're not as porous as the newsprint, to be sure, but they're not totally non-porous. So they don't have the exact quality that the Montreal papers had, but they are much higher than the papers used throughout most of the second Ottawa period. And at the same time, the plates for this issue were re-engraved and reintroduced around 1894, and quite possibly again in 1895 or 96, I'm not sure. But there are a lot of examples of late second Ottawa printings that have very clear, very crisp impressions on very white paper, and so to the untrained eye, those can resemble Montreal printings, but they're not. They're late second Ottawa. So all in keeping with most of the stamps of this issue that we're going to look at, most all of the late Montreal printings are going to be on a non-porous, hard, vertical or horizontal wove paper. And I'll show you some examples in a minute. In terms of shades, I've identified 3. Unitrade identifies just two, black and gray black. But I've identified, well, three or possibly four. So my shades are black, intense black, gray black, and silver black. And the gray black is quite distinct. It's quite a bit lighter than the black, and it appears to me that it occurs mostly in the Second Ottawa period. The intense black you can find both in the Montreal and in the Second Ottawa period. Black is all throughout. Silver black, much of the time, seems to be late Montreal, although I have found some in the Second Ottawa period with this shade as well. In terms of perfs, again, they vary from 12 and 12.1 and 12.2 and 11.9 and compounds thereof. And there seems at the moment, based on the study I've done, to be no real definitive pattern from Montreal to Ottawa as to the perforations, except that the very last printings tend to be compounds of 12 and 11.9. Whereas in the earlier ones, you see lots of 12.1, 12.2 in combination with one another. Okay, so without any further ado, I'm just going to switch the camera over and show you the groups that I've identified. So let's see, we'll just move this over here, like so. Yeah, we'll just adjust the tripod. And you can hopefully see here. Yeah, I'm going to have to hold this because it's so difficult to position it. So the group of stamps here are late Montreal printings on paper type LM/A. And LMA is basically a hard horizontal wove paper with coarse mesh, and it's a medium thickness. And then over here we have the Second Ottawa printings. So here we've got paper type A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So paper type, I'm just going to refer to my table here very quickly, just so I don't get lost. So paper type A over here in the Second Ottawa period, I don't know if you can, the camera's not focusing particularly well, but this paper is a thin, soft, very white newsprint. So it's very porous on the surface, but it doesn't have the rough fibers visible on the paper surface that the grayish and yellowish newsprint papers have. So here, for instance, so that's the yellowish newsprint, that's the grayish newsprint. So those papers are distinct in that they're highly porous. When you look at them under magnification, you're going to see a lot of loose fibers and a lot of unevenness on the felt side. The felt side being the side that's facing the printing. They differ really only in color, yellowish versus a grayish tone. Then we've got type D, which is a medium porous brownish wove. So this is a vertical wove paper, I believe. Let me just check that. Yeah, I think it's a vertical wove paper. But the key thing here is that it's sort of slightly brownish to ivory cream. It's quite it's quite opaque on the back when you're looking at it. So it's not a thin paper, but when you look at it up close with magnification, you're going to see that it's porous on the surface. Okay, then over here we have type E, which is the medium horizontal porous mesh paper. So it's horizontal mesh. It's a medium thickness. It's not thin, and it has horizontal mesh, and it's porous on the felt side. Okay, then F paper here is, this is one of the higher quality papers. So this one is a vertical wove. It's medium soft white and porous. So it's similar to type D, except that type D actually is a horizontal wove paper. This is a vertical. And this one is whiter than this one. This one still looks grayish on the surface. This one is white. Okay, then there's type H, which is a medium semi-porous horizontal wove with clear, somewhat coarse mesh. So this one, it's just hard for me to get at these here. So it has a somewhat coarse mesh. It's similar again to these others, but it's not as white. It's got the cream color that the E paper had, or the D paper, I should say. And it's semi-porous, okay, and then it looks only very slightly porous on the surface. It's very close to being a non-porous paper. Here so in terms of shades, on the late Montreal, we have black, gray black here, intense black down here, and silver black here. Okay, then here, that's gray black, black, or intense black, I should say, silver black, 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 intense black, and gray black. So hopefully that helps shed some light on the half-cent small queen. It's not a particularly difficult stamp to sort as far as the other values go. It's a good starting point if you're just getting into the issue. So what I'll do is follow up with another video on the 1 cent, which is far more complicated, far more troublesome, more tentative, as the study I've done so far is really just a starting point. Thanks for watching. Bye.